The WordPress REST API shows user data in plain sight for logged out users. In this video, we'll use WPCodeBox to disable the REST API for anyone who isn't logged in, and we'll explain every single piece of code along the way. This is Kevin. Let's get coding. To get started, let's head over to WPCodeBox, and we're going to create a new snippet, and this time we're going to call it Disable REST API. We'll now save our snippet, and let's start coding. So we have our PHP tag open, and the next thing we're going to do is we are going to create a new function. With our new code snippet created, we're going to go ahead and create a new function that is going to house all of our logic. So we're going to say function disable REST API for guests. And we're going to use the access parameter, which is a placeholder for data WordPress will hand us when it runs this function. Next, within our function, we're going to use an if block to check whether or not the user is logged in. So we're going to say if, and then we're going to type is user logged in. And so right now, this means this function is checking if the user is logged in. And we actually want to do the opposite. So we're going to add this exclamation point. And the exclamation point in the front of a PHP operator means not. So instead of if user is logged in, we're now looking for if user is not logged in. So now let's go ahead and go into our if statement. And for our if statement, we're going to type return new WP error. So WP error creates an error object. Within our error object, we can pass a few things to it. The first is our error code that we're going to use for debugging. So in this case, we're going to say REST disabled. The second argument we can pass is a human message. This means it is something that users will see on the front end. And for this, we're going to type in the REST API is disabled for guests. Now, we could leave it at just this. However, a standard of WordPress is to wrap text strings like this within a translation function. And for that, we use underscore, underscore, and then we'll open up our quotes. And so what this means is that in the event you ever want to translate this string in the future, it will be easy to do so because you've already set your snippet up for that. And the third argument we need to pass is a PHP array. And in this case, we want to tell WordPress as well as our browser that we're returning a 403 status. So we're going to set the status to 403. Okay, so we have created our function. And essentially what this means is that if any user is not logged in and tries to access the REST API, which let's go back here, and that's anything with this. So if I go to WP JSON, WP version 2, you'll see that there's a ton of different endpoints here. We were focused on the users, but there's all these different endpoints that are available within WordPress. So we have our if statement, and now after the if statement, we need to return access. And we want to do this after the return statement because if the user is logged in, we just want to return the regular WordPress access. Otherwise, if the user is not logged in, we're going to return this new error, which will then not allow them to access our REST API. So the last thing we need to do is we actually need to use this function. So in this case, we're going to use add filter. And add filter is a core WordPress function used to register a callback on a filter hook. And filters let you modify data before it's used or output by WordPress. So the filter hook we're going to use in this case is REST authentication errors, which fires when WordPress checks for REST permissions. And then we are going to pass our function name to this. So we're going to say disable REST API for guests, and we'll use WPCodeBox autocomplete to finish that off. So now if we save this snippet, let's also activate it. And now let's go ahead and check the front end. We are going to refresh this, and there we go. So we see our code is REST disabled. Our message is the message we added. The REST API is disabled for guests, and our data is the status 403 forbidden. Now, if we go as a logged in user to visit this page, we'll see that everything still works. So just like that, we added a little code snippet. Public users are locked out. Authenticated ones are free to roam, and we're all good to go.